I am the host now. Ha 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 ha. Okay. That's working. Hello. That's also working. Lies. Okay. Oh, come on. Ugh. Come on, Zoom. Just work. Ah, here we go. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Oh, boy. Apologies for the little technical difficulty. It's awfully strange. I hope this does not bode. I hope this this technological glitch I've been having is not an indicator of how this course will go. All right. Yeah, hopefully this is not a bad omen. And in a philosophy of technology class, no less, your professor is technologically stunted today, apparently. So welcome everyone to Philosophy of Technology. Let's see, still a couple people in the waiting room. Let's see, I'll wait till everybody's joined. So as I mentioned in the Discord chat, I probably will not be going for the full length of class. I mean, obviously we won't because we've had a bit of a late start. But I think it's received wisdom that it's never a good idea to try to teach too much on the very first lecture, right? Because everybody's here for the first time, just trying to sort of become oriented. So I thought what we would do today is just go over the syllabus. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. And yeah, we will just get oriented with the learning objectives of the class, what the workload is going to be like, our textbook, all of that, you know, stuff that we need to sort of get sorted out so that we can start learning, right? So that's all we're going to do today. And of course, I should mention before I get started, this lecture, because this class is online, this lecture and future lectures are being recorded and posted to my YouTube channel for those who wish to review material or for those who are not able to be here in real time. You know, there's no attendance or anything like that, but if you're not able to watch the lecture in real time, you can go on YouTube. So the videos are up there on the internet. If you want, make sure that your microphone is muted unless you want to say something, and you know, don't feel like you have to be on camera if you don't want to be. So you know, just leave the screen, leave the camera off. You could just have your name or a picture of something else. Don't feel like you need to appear on camera if you're not comfortable doing that. Right. So with that said, let's take a look at the syllabus. Now, I just have to share my screen with everyone, which I will do now. And then I'll just go through the syllabus. And if anybody has any questions at any time, I think Zoom has this raise your hand feature. So you can put your hand up and I can say, go ahead, and then you can unmute yourself and talk. Or you can put questions here in the chat, which I think you should all be able to see now that I'm sharing the screen. So if you have any questions at any time, just go ahead and stop me and I'll try and get myself out of the way here. Okay. Apologies, by the way, if at any point my screen kind of glitches out a little bit or gets choppy. You know, internet is not the best, computer is a little slow. So please share the YouTube link. Yes. Well, it is already shared. I will I'll direct you to it now, just briefly. It is on the what's it called? Brightspace. Yeah, it's on Brightspace in the helpful materials module, which I'll explain a little bit more about, but it's there. And in the course outline, I believe it's in the course outline. Yep. On the course outline in the lecture section, you can find a link there too. And I'll put a link here in the chat, just in case. You should be able to access it by copying and pasting that link. Okay, so so this is Phil 2120A, Philosophy of Technology. Obviously, you already know where and when the class is being held, so we don't need to talk much about that. Classes are, of course, today on Tuesdays, and on Thursdays. We're going to go typically from 11:25. That's wrong. 11:35. 11:35 to 12:55 p.m. And of course, this is all online because of the health and safety COVID guidelines. Of course, there are too many people in this class, so we can't have it in person. So we're having it over Zoom. And as I mentioned earlier, lectures will be recorded and posted to my YouTube channel. I am Josh Redstone, of course. I'm your instructor. You don't have to call me professor, okay? I say this, I have this little spiel all the time with my students. You can call me Josh, or you can call me Dr. Redstone. You don't have to call me professor. I'm an instructor, right? Professors have tenure. I'm just an instructor, and that's cool. So don't feel like you have to be like super formal and call me professor all the time. You can if you want, but like Josh is fine. Call me Josh. I don't like to, I don't know. I don't want to be unapproachable, given that we're already separated by this latest COVID wave and we have to do everything online, right? So you can call me Josh if you want. I don't have any teaching assistant information for you yet. In fact, I'm not sure if there is one. I was initially under the impression that this class was over 80 students, which I believe requires a teaching assistant, but I could be wrong about that. So I'll provide an update about this next time. It's not really much of a concern for all of you. It's more of a concern for me, whether I will be the sole person evaluating your work and so forth, right? So I'll provide an update on that in the coming days. Now, class description. This is a pretty bare bones sort of description of what we were going to do. Oh, people are still showing up. So we're doing philosophy of technology in this class. What does that mean? Well, in philosophy, of course, philosophy being love of wisdom, right? Philosophy comes from philia, which is a sort of filial affection, you know, like a brotherly love kind of affection, and Sophia, which is wisdom, so love of wisdom. And what philosophy does, or how it's often done, is to investigate fundamental questions about things, right? This is what we do when we do things like metaphysics, right? When we ask what kinds of things exist, what they're like. These are fundamental questions. Or when we do epistemology, right? What is knowledge? How do we know when we know something? These are fundamental questions. So in this class, we're going to be asking questions about the fundamental nature of technology. What is it, right? What is technology? A lot of us think of technology as merely tools, right? Technology, just tools. But as we'll see, it's not that simple, right? Technology may be much more complicated than that and have much more of an impact or an influence over our lives than we suspect. And a lot of the thinkers we're going to encounter in our textbook talk about this kind of thing. So we're going to be examining the fundamental nature of technology, and we're going to be doing it in a way that sort of spans across the analytic and continental traditions in philosophy. I suspect some of you are probably aware of this distinction, which I think actually is kind of silly. Usually we talk about the analytic tradition or the Anglo-American tradition, right, as being the predominant branch of philosophy in the Americas and in the United Kingdom, where philosophy tries to be a lot more like science. And then we have the continental tradition, where we have, postmodernism, critical theory, even going further back, I'd say the Romantic philosophers, right? It depends how far back you go in history too, right? Which is kind of why I think this divide is a little bit silly. But nowadays, I guess some people have this impression that these two traditions are at odds with one another, and usually people favor one approach over the other. I don't, and in this class, we can't really take one approach over the other anyway. I think to do philosophy of technology, you have to take this dual-pronged approach. And if you read the intro to the textbook, you'll see that the author is doing something very similar, right? The author is talking about historical philosophers, analytic philosophers, continental philosophers, philosophers from many different traditions, even non-Western philosophy. We're going to talk about that in this class too, as we get further into the material. So that's kind of what we're doing, taking a sort of multi-pronged approach toward understanding the fundamental nature of technology, right? And we will investigate exactly what it is and try to understand the relationship it has with us, with ourselves as individuals, with people in general, with animals, with the world, and all of this, right? And we're going to encounter a lot of different themes as we go. It's going to be fun. I mean, we're going to be talking about, this is really kind of how things get kicked off, is the relationship between philosophy and science, right? Is philosophy prior to science? Or is technology prior to science? Or is science prior to technology? Think about it. Do we use science to come up with new forms of technology, or do we use technology to do science? We kind of do both. It depends what we're doing, right? Science and personal identity. That's a very interesting area that I hope we'll get to explore in this class. And of course, things like social justice and well-being, important things for individual people and society as a whole. What role does technology play in that? Does technology stand in the way of well-being and social justice? Or can technology aid the achievement of these things, right? A lot of interesting questions we'll get to explore. And I should say that this is the first time I'm getting to explore them in a class like this. Just a little bit about me. I have the undergraduate and graduate training in philosophy. I have my master's degree in philosophy that I got at Carleton University, in fact, in this very department. But after that, I went on to do a PhD in cognitive science. So I consider myself somebody who kind of wears multiple hats, So throughout this class, I'm probably going to be wearing my philosopher hat some of the time and my scientist hat some of the other time. So, just expect multidisciplinarity in this class. And indeed, other than these different philosophical traditions, we're also going to be talking about, sociology, maybe a little psychology. Who knows? It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Quick question in the chat from Dula. I hope I'm pronouncing everybody's names correctly, by the way. Will we talk about ethical issues in technological advances, such as the unethical treatment of workers, as well as the environmental concerns. I think we definitely will have occasion to talk about something like that, or talk about these themes. Yes. The book we're using was published in 2006. And since that time, in 2006, we didn't really have, like social media the way that we do today. Smartphones were brand new. We didn't have Amazon the way we have Amazon now, with giant warehouses, making it so that making their workers pee in bottles and stuff. Like, we didn't have that stuff going on then, but we will probably be able to look at what is happening technologically in our in our present situation with the environment, with marginalized groups, non-human animals, with the whole COVID situation. We'll be able to take themes from the book, and then what I'm hoping will happen is we get to talk about them in relation to, just what's going on in the world presently, right? So, yeah, I guess the shorter answer is yes, but that was the long answer. So, course textbook, right? We're reading Val Dusick's book, Philosophy of Technology and Introduction. Quite simple. You can get this at the bookstore. You can get it online at fine retailers everywhere, or evil retailers too. Just talking about Amazon. Yeah, that was a joke, but I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to ask how many. Yes, okay, Emily. Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, I wasn't sure if this was ethical of me. But I don't know. I don't know what access to campus is like right now. Yeah. Say what? I don't see. I see nothing. What's happening? Bye. I don't know how access to campus is right now with the COVID restrictions. I mean, I haven't really looked because I don't really have any reason to go myself. So, I'm just hunkered down here in my apartment, and I imagine all of you are as well, at home or at your apartment, wherever you live. So you can get this book there. You can buy it online, or, I mean, if somebody, yeah, Zach says can't access. Yeah. So what I suggest is that if somebody is willing to share their access to the text, they may do so. And when things kind of get back to normal, it'd be good to have a physical copy of this book. It really would. There's nothing like a physical copy. I know it's bad for the environment, paper and everything, but I just love holding a book in my hand. I like that I can underline things with a real pencil. Staring at the screen, just it's hard on your eyes. So I love a physical copy. Definitely you should buy a physical copy. But in the interim, it looks like people will be able to find a digital copy of the book. And, it's an easy read. It's not like written very, the prose is not challenging. The chapters are short. I think it's a solid introduction to this topic. So that's why I chose it. So that's the book. And for our next class, what you should do is read through the introduction and the first chapter, right? And what I'm really going to try to do in the next lecture is, I'm going to try and get away from my usual approach in teaching, which I think is probably drawing too much from the text, or not drawing too much from the text, but, kind of, just reproducing the textbook in slides. I'm going to try not to do that. And I'm going to try to focus in on core concepts, key terms, stuff like that. So, okay, the course website you've already accessed. If you're here, it's Brightspace. You know that all of the important things for this class will be posted there. I'll post PowerPoints. You've got our schedule. All the materials you'll need will be there, even helpful materials like templates for assignments and stuff. So there are links to the Zoom meetings, of course. There are links to the recordings of the Zoom meetings. Everything you need should be on Brightspace. All right, now here is a summary of the work that you'll be expected to complete in this class, and I'll say a little bit more about this in detail in a moment. But basically, you've got 3 reading responses. Each of those are worth 10%. It works out to about 1 per month, which is not really a lot of work. Will there be notes? Well, I'm going to have PowerPoints. And my PowerPoints function essentially, like I don't really use lecture notes. I'm kind of weird that way. But the PowerPoints should be sufficient. And if you want to take your own notes, I mean, absolutely that is encouraged. In fact, what I would say that, what I would recommend is that you print out the PowerPoints. You know how you can print them so that you have the slide and then some blank space beside it to make your own notes. I would print them out like that, and then you can take your own notes, and that will be helpful. So 3 reading responses, each worth 10% of your final grade. And the idea here is just to critically engage with some interesting idea that you've picked out of the textbook or the lectures, right? Yes, the course outline is on Brightspace. It's in the, see, I'm sharing my screen. Maybe I can show you. Let me move all this stuff. Yeah, in course details, Ian's got it. My computer's too slow to do this in a timely manner, but it is up there. You just kind of have to explore. All right, where were we? There's also a term paper topic proposal. This will be due around the middle of March, where you'll propose an essay topic and tell me a little bit about the essay you want to write. And of course, there's the essay itself, the final term paper, which counts as a take-home final exam. Ugh. So that's why it's due on the last day of the exam period. It serves as a final exam, and you have the entire exam period to work on it. And you've also got a proposal that you'll be doing, which will allow me to give you lots of feedback, which will be great. That way you'll write an awesome essay. Okay. Yes, actually, this happens sometimes. So the question in the chat is, would we be able to change our essay topic after the proposal? Yeah, absolutely. It's a good idea to give me a heads up in case some of the feedback I give you on, oh boy, excuse me. It's a good idea to give me a heads up in case some of the feedback I gave you initially does not apply, right? And I'll explain more about all of this in a moment, more about the reading responses, more about the essay proposals. I'll explain this in more detail in a moment. This is just to kind of get you familiar with what we'll be doing, when it's due, how much it's worth. If you go down, you can see our schedule. Next time, we're going to do this, philosophy of science and technology. Just basically, we're going to be going over some of the ways that science has been thought of. I mean, really starting since Bacon, right? We're going all the way back to Bacon, who thought of science as a sort of induction, right? It's just inductive reasoning. Science is just a type of that. We'll go forward. We'll talk about Hume, Kant, Descartes into the modern period. Talk about other conceptions of science, verificationism versus falsification, non-Western understandings of science. We'll talk about what sociology, feminism, areas like that have to say about science, and the relationship of all these understandings of science to technology. So that'll be fun. Chapter 2 is when we really get into talking about what technology is itself. So we start out by talking about what science is, And then we try and work out what technology is. So that'll be fun. In week 3, we talk about technocracy, power of technology, or rather using technology to have power, right? Technocracy, right? Think like aristocracy, oligarchy, right? These are forms of government. So looks like we'll be getting a little political in week 3. That'll be fun. In chapter 4, rationality, technological rationality and reason. And in chapter 5, this is where we really start getting a little continental. Phenomenology, hermeneutics, and technology. Boy, that sounds fun. We'll probably be talking about some Habermas, some Heidegger, interesting figures. So that will be quite cool, I think. Phenomenology, by the way, is the study of the structure of appearances. It's a sort of radical empiricism that was initiated by Edmund Husserl. And hermeneutics is the study of interpretation. So this is very interesting stuff. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It might be a little challenging, but I think it'll be fun. Deep fakes. Deep fakes, question mark. I think we may have the opportunity to talk about deep fakes at some point in the class. Maybe, I mean, when we talk about phenomenology and hermeneutics, we're talking about technology as a whole. Like if I'm talking about phenomenology in relation to technology, I'm probably talking about how technology manifests itself to us in the world, right? Rather than how a particular thing, does. But we'll probably have occasion, oh my goodness, to talk about a lot of interesting technologies, including deep fakes. Another, it's great that you brought that up, because that's another example of something that nobody thought we would have to contend with when this book was written in 2006, right? No, you're right. But it's about the appearance, in general of technology, right? It'll make sense when we get there. I'm sure I'm not doing a good job of making it make sense right now, but week 6, technological determinism. Sounds fun. Then week 7 is actually reading week, so you don't have any classes, but feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything. Reading week is always a good time to do that, and you can do that over the Discord server or via email. Then, of course, we get into autonomous technology in week 8, where we read chapter 7. And after that, chapter 8 sounds really interesting. It asks questions about human nature. Is human nature, what is the defining characteristic of the human being? Is it language, which is what many philosophers have long argued, that language is what separates us from the animals? Or is it tool making technology, right? Yeah, for the Discord link, it's in the course outline, and it is also in the helpful materials module on Brightspace, so you can find it there. Okay, chapter 9, we're going to talk about feminism and technology, so that's going to be good. And that is one of 2 lectures, together with non-Western technology and local knowledge, where we kind of get outside of the traditional, I guess, Western, sort of way of understanding technology. Oh, that's a really good question, actually. Wouldn't language count as a tool? It actually depends on who you ask. So yeah, I'll give you a quick sort of take on it. So when a lot of thinkers like philosophers, cognitive scientists, and others like that talk about language, they talk about natural language, right? As opposed to, say, a constructed language like like a programming language or something, right? Natural language like English or French or Arabic or Japanese or whatever are languages that have developed amongst communities of speakers. Those are natural languages, right? That is not thought of as a tool or a technology by most people. But some people do think of language as a kind of technology. Namely, actually, this is lucky I have this right here, Andy Clark. Andy Clark, a very cool philosopher of mind, who argues very effectively, I think, in one chapter of that book, Mindware, that language can work as a kind of tool for thinking, a kind of cognitive technology. And there are interesting reasons why he says this. He motivates this argument with some really interesting experiments using non-human animals, where we have, apes, for example, like chimpanzees. They can learn second and third order relationships by sort of using these tokens or markers, right? They can represent these second and third order relationships between different entities by representing the relationship with these labels that are given to them by the experimenters. And the apes that don't have these labels can't get that abstract, right? And the idea is that language works that way for us, the way these labels work for these chimpanzees, right? Is that language works as labels that allows us to assimilate new concepts. And in that sense, it's like a technology in the sense that it's a tool for thinking. So let's see. Yeah. Other species study. Yeah. Oh boy, this is really great. I'm already getting lots of engagement on this. This is really cool. So Jared says, yes, other chimpanzees, well, I don't know, other species certainly use tools. I don't know. I guess they also make them in some cases, right? Like chimpanzees will try to pick a really good stick, right? And they might alter the stick, and they use it to fish for termites. Certain birds like corvids, so the crows, ravens particularly, will make tools, use tools, sticks, wires, whatever, so they can get at food. Even sea otters will pick a favorite stone for smashing shells, and they'll keep that stone with them for their life. That's their favorite stone, right? And that's their tool. That's their tool they use to make dinner, essentially. Our tools are different because, and this is hopefully not getting too far ahead of myself, just to sort of borrow from a thinker like Heidegger, for example, even though he's a controversial figure for reasons that I'll explain in the class. Technology is not just tools, right? Technology is actually a way of being, right? Technology does something to the way we exist in the world that simple tools don't, right? So I'd say that's one possible difference. So Max says, languages are like a tool. Speak German helps me understand German writers better with more context and linguistic understanding than the English translators. That's certainly true. Like, I appreciate that. I mean, I don't speak German. And if I have one of those philosophy texts, say I have, German on one side and English on the other side, right? Or Greek or whatever language, I can kind of go back and forth. I can look at my dictionary, but I still don't have the competence that a native speaker would, right? So in that sense, it's like a handy tool. And yeah, German's a kind of language where some things don't translate that well. So yeah. So language is like a tool, but it's also natural. But then you get into the question of, okay, is technology not natural, right? We have this division between the natural and artificial, right? What occurs in nature versus what humans do. If humans make it, it's artificial. It's artifice, right? But is artifice not natural? Is tool use amongst non-human animals and humans not natural? I think it's natural, right? Yeah. Yeah, tool might be an understatement. It depends what you mean. Like, what is the language doing, right? Yeah. Yeah, Esteban, this is what the post-humanists say, right? Like transhumanism. Technology is eventually, if you're a transhumanist, technology is something that eventually will be incorporated into our bodies, so that we'll merge with, right? The singularity is near, all of this stuff, right? So yeah, I don't know. This is really encouraging, though. These are the kinds of questions I hope we get to all talk about as a group in this class, even though we're all doing it online, right? So, but yeah, then we have women, feminism, and technology, and non-Western technology and local knowledge. So we're getting outside of our own perspective, our sort of Eurocentric, patriarchal perspective on science and technology. And we're going to look at other kind of different ways, not only of looking at technology, but looking at the world. Yeah. Yeah. First class, Abraham, first class. We're already talking about transhumanism. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, everyone. Week 12, anti-technology, romanticism, Luddism, and the ecology movement. This will be really cool. Obviously, really pertinent to the situation we're facing with climate change. Luddism especially is interesting. Luddism is a sort of anti-technology, like a vehement anti-technological stance, where if you're a Luddite, you need to destroy the technology, sabotage. There's an urban myth that this is where the word sabotage comes from, where this is probably an apocryphal story. It's probably not historically accurate, but the story goes that workers who felt their livelihood threatened by automation would throw their shoes into the machines to destroy them. Their shoes that they wore were these wooden, kind of like protective shoe called sabotage, throwing these wooden shoes into the machines to destroy them because livelihoods are on the line. That's Luddism, right? And that's actually where the word, if you believe the urban myth, it may not be true, but that's maybe where the word sabotage comes from. So a couple things in the chat. Yeah, well, it depends. Like, are we already on the brink of the singularity, right? Elon Musk, all about we have a symbiotic relationship with our phone. Maybe Elon Musk wants to make sure we put this just in our head, put the chip in the head. You got your cell phone and maybe your screen is just in one of your eyes, right? Merge with technology. I wouldn't say our relationship with phones is symbiotic, though. In some cases, it's not anyway. Okay. A lot of people talking about transhumanism. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What is transhumanism? Okay. A few of you are wondering what transhumanism is. Zach's explain. There's some good answers here. Dominic has a very good answer here. Dominique. Transhumanism is social and philosophical movement to develop robust human enhancement technologies. Yeah, that's a good, that's good. Eric says to transcend human nature. Yeah. Neuralink. I mean, man, Elon Musk, man, I don't know. I think Neuralink could potentially be just a whole lot of window dressing, if you know what I mean. We are so far away from some of the things that transhumanists think are imminent. That it's kind of, depending on who you're reading, it's almost kind of funny. I'm thinking here of Ray Kurzweil. The singularity is near. Ray Kurzweil is the guy who advocates this singularity theory or singularity hypothesis, where technology is increasing in its computational power exponentially, and eventually we get to a point where there's the singularity. There's just kind of this explosion of computational power where we merge with the machines, the whole universe wakes up. And he thinks this is supposed to happen, just a few years from now. I mean, really? Like, it's, I mean, depending on who you read, some of this stuff is nutty. Some of it's very compelling. Some of it's nutty. So, yeah, there is a transhumanist party. Yeah, unskippable ads. Well, like, has anyone seen Futurama? The animated sitcom by Matt Groening. Yeah, like the ads, they just beam the ads into your dreams. So you go to buy a box of Bachelor Chow at the grocery store and it says, as seen in your dreams, right? Like, imagine this. This is kind of like, the transhumanist Elon Musk wants electric cars and colonies on Mars, but probably what we might end up getting is, Soylent Green and ads in our dreams. So, this is why we do philosophy of technology, right? This is why we're doing it right here. Like, where are we going to end up? How is technology going to get us there? This is why we're doing this, right? Ads in space. Yeah, no billboards in space, I say. Social constructivism and actor network theory. That's the last chapter. I don't know, by the way, I mean, maybe we'll blow through all of these chapters. Maybe we'll have to go a little slower sometimes, and maybe one chapter will take longer than 1 week. Maybe at the end of the class, we'll say, to heck with it. Let's talk about, I don't know, let's talk about more transhumanism or something, right? I don't know. This is preliminary. It may change, right? Subject to minor adjustments. But I just want to teach everything in a way that keeps it interesting for everybody. So geez, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, lectures. Obviously, you know what time lectures are held at, 11:35 to 12:55 p.m. That's why you're here. We're going to be doing them over Zoom like this. You need the latest version of Zoom downloaded and installed. I thought that I had that. Apparently I didn't, which was why I was a little bit late. Plus a slow computer doesn't help. So you can find the links to our Zoom meetings on Brightspace. You can also find links to the recorded lectures on Brightspace. And of course, there's a link to my YouTube channel. Oh my God, I've got the hiccups. I'm sorry. So that's how you find the lectures. Brightspace has links to both the Zoom meetings and the recordings that are posted on YouTube. If you want, you can also just subscribe to the YouTube channel for the duration of the class, but don't feel like you have to. I mean, like, it's not a real YouTube channel. Maybe one day it'll be, but right now it's just a place where I put all my lectures. And that's primarily for my students, but also for whoever else might be interested, right? Knowledge should be free, right? So office hours. Office hours are always going to be by appointment. So if you need to speak to me, you should send me an email, set up an appointment, and we'll meet on my Discord server. There's a link to join the server here. You'll need to download the app, the Discord app, either on your phone or your computer. And then you click that link and you'll join the Mind and Metal community, which is where all of my students in all of my classes are. And they can ask me questions. They can talk amongst each other. I mean, some of you are already there. So, you guys know all about Discord. So, I'm not going to sit here and explain technology to the youth that they already know about. But just get on Discord. Don't be shy. Talk amongst yourselves. Ask me questions. Conduct yourselves as you would as if you were in the in-person class. What I mean by that is treat each other with respect. don't, don't do anything that would violate any of the, any of Carleton University's policies were you physically present on campus. You see what I mean? And I have full confidence that none of you will do this. I've never had, so far at least, fingers crossed, I've never had an instance of bullying or harassment or anything like that on my Discord community. And I want to keep it that way. And I'm sure most of you do too, right? My classes are a safe space, okay? They're a safe space. On the one hand, they're a safe space in the sense that you're probably familiar with from the discourse of the day. They're a safe space in that we all need to treat each other as human beings with respect, right? And I'm sure all of you will do that. They're also a safe space to explore ideas, right? So a lot of people might be coming into this class with different beliefs, different outlooks, different worldviews. Let's all respect one another while we do philosophy. Okay, so just keep that in mind whenever you're on Discord, in the chat here, if you're leaving a comment on my YouTube channel. Remember, it's a safe space to be who you are, and it's a safe space to learn. Okay, so readings and reading responses. Definitely keep up with the readings. The chapters in the textbook are not super long. My lectures are kind of directed at making the core concepts more acceptable. And then what I'm hoping will happen is we just kind of discuss things. So even though there are a lot of people in this class, I'm hoping to get a lot of discussion going, which would be cool. You got to complete 3 reading responses in this class. The due dates are given above. Each of them is worth 10%, as I mentioned. They should be 500 to 750 words in length, and you got to cite everything properly. You've got to write clearly. What you need to do is pick an interesting idea. Could be from the book, from the lecture, from somewhere else, and critically engage with it. If you pick an idea or something from somewhere else, you need to relate it to what we're talking about in the class. And you're doing critical analysis here, right? Critical analysis. Do I have a preferred citation style? Not really. I mean, I guess I'm more familiar with APA. I don't care what you use as long as you are consistent. And by the way, in the helpful materials module on Brightspace, there is a link to Purdue University's OWL, their online writing lab, OWL. And they have citation guides for everything. MLA, APA, Harvard, Chicago, whatever kind of citation style you can think of, they've got it. And so you can look up how to cite anything you need. So don't ask me how to cite things, okay? Because the information is out there, and you can access it by following the link that I've posted on Brightspace. So I don't have a style. Just be consistent. Don't start your assignment with APA and switch to Chicago or something halfway through. Don't do that. So you want to identify an interesting idea and critically engage with it. Maybe you read the first chapter and you read about the different understandings of science, induction, verificationism, falsification. Maybe you think, falsification, what? That doesn't make sense. How can science be about proving things wrong? I thought science is supposed to be about proving things right. So maybe you write a critical response on that and you say, at first I thought falsification was a terrible idea. How do we understand the truth? By proving things wrong. But then I thought about it and I realized that science is about failing to disprove, right? If we consistently fail to disprove, to falsify, then that lends strength to our hypotheses and we can build theories out of them, right? So you want to do this kind of thing. Obviously, more academic, more formal than my little spiel that I just gave there. But that's what you want to do. You want to critically engage, ask questions, deconstruct things, take ideas apart, think about them, right? Do critical response, don't just summarize things. If you summarize things, that's fine. But if that's all you do, you're probably just going to stay in the B range in this class. You need to critically engage. You need to think. You need to show me that you're thinking with language, right? So I will say a little bit more about how to do this before the first one is due. But you know, that's it's not really as difficult as it sounds. And if you're philosophy majors or even other majors in the humanities, you've probably done some kind of work like this before, where you have to critically respond to something. So I expect most of you will probably be familiar with this. If not, simply send me an email or message on Discord and I'll try to help. You also have to do your term paper topic proposal. You want that to be 750 to 1,000 words in length. And I have a template for this and for the reading responses. So there's templates in the helpful material section. Basically, in your topic proposal, you identify an interesting topic for your paper. You provide a research question or a thesis statement, and you give a sort of rough outline, a plan of attack, I like to call it, for your paper. And you'll also give me an annotated bibliography of sources you're thinking of using. And I'll say more about this, of course, before it is due. But it's worth 25% of your grade. And the idea here is that, you know, you get some marks, you get a good chunk of marks from this, but you also get a lot of feedback for your final paper. So, you know, it's not a matter of just sitting down, writing a paper. No, before you write that paper, you've got a lot of feedback on what you're about to start doing. And hopefully that will prove helpful. So, I can try and find some examples. I can't really share. Yeah, yeah. So I have a question here about sharing some examples of reading responses. I will try and do so. It's difficult, you know, because I can't share others' work without their permission. But let me look into it. Let me look into it. And I'll look into that for everybody, just, you know, sort of example. Okay, and then there's the term paper, which, as I already said, is due on the last day of the exam period. It's worth 45% of your final grade. Whoops. It should be 2,000 to 2,500 words. And you should pick an interesting, you know, pick an interesting topic, pick an interesting research question or thesis statement, and go from there. That's why I'm having you do the proposals, right? Now, I'm going to have an instructional video that I'm going to make. So it's not going to be a lecture. I mean, it is going to be a lecture, but it's not part of our regular lecture schedule. It'll just be kind of a, here's how to write an essay video. And I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. I already have a couple videos like this for my other classes, but I'm going to do one for this class. And I'll explain all about writing a paper, writing a philosophy paper, how to tackle your proposal, how to conduct research, how to make sure you're not citing things incorrectly, that kind of thing, right? So, and because I'm offering all of this wisdom, I expect papers to be well written, well researched, and to cite sources properly. This is very important. I always tell people how important it is to cite everything properly, because you don't want to commit plagiarism, right? Plagiarism is very serious. And it is not up to me whether I give you a pass on it or not, whether I think you've made a mistake and you just didn't cite something, or whether I think you're up to something nefarious, trying to steal ideas. It's not up to me to make the call. I have to take it up the chain of command, as it were. And when plagiarism happens, I catch it. It's not hard. So I don't think any of you are going to commit plagiarism. Okay, I'm just saying, I don't think any of you are going to do that. But sometimes there's someone who thinks they're going to get away with it. And, you know, this ain't my first rodeo. So it's not hard. I'm just saying, it's not hard to catch plagiarism. So just don't do it, okay? I don't think you are going to, but just don't. Yeah. What else? Oh, yeah. Clearly and concisely written, the writing. I should mention that, you know, there is a, Carleton does have a writing services. I forget what it's called, the Writing Services Center, or maybe just Writing Services. Could you use turn 10? I don't know what, sorry, what is that? Turn tin. Oh, do I use Turnitin? Oh, that's the thing where it checks. I mean, I have a variety of tools at my disposal. So even Brightspace even can flag suspicious submissions. So, you know, I don't really use Turnitin that much. But yeah, I have a variety of tools at my disposal. I don't want to tip my hand, I'm just saying. But when it comes to the writing, as I was saying a moment ago, note, like Carleton does have a writing services service. If writing is not your strong suit, I highly recommend that you take advantage of this. Because I do expect that, you know, in a second year university class, I should not have to be pointing out problems with grammar and punctuation and so forth, right? Like I've been doing a lot of grading lately, and I'll just tell you, it's surprising to me the number of people who pose questions and then don't use a question mark, right? I mean, you're in university, for goodness sake. You should know how to use a question mark, right? And, you know, that's the stuff I shouldn't be seeing. You know, if you're not a wizard when it comes to writing a philosophy paper, that's fine. You know, you don't all have to be amazing philosophy writers, but like the basic stuff that can be taken care of with editing, I don't want to see that in writing. Really, at this point, you're all here in university. You should all be good at this, good enough that you avoid stuff like that. And if you're not, there are services you can take advantage that will help, right? So, you know, just saying. Assignment deferral policy. I tend to be a little more easygoing when it comes to this stuff. If you're ill or if you've suffered bereavement, and that affects your work, then just let me know, and we'll come up with something, right? Let me know as soon as you can. Don't leave it. You know, if you're sick and you miss a due date, just send me an email. I'm sick. I'll say, okay, when you're feeling better, work on the thing, send it to me. I won't deduct late marks, right? But if you don't do that, it's probably going to be some marks deducted for lateness. And there's other policies too, other important policies all in the last page. Definitely take a look at policies on plagiarism to make sure that you don't accidentally commit it. And take a look at the different kinds of academic accommodations. These are all really good to know, okay? Pregnancy or religious obligation. If you are pregnant or if you have some religious observation that you have to make, and this interferes with your ability to attend class or submit work, just let me know and I'll work with you and we'll come up with something, right? We'll come up with an alternative deadline or a workaround of some kind. Students with disabilities. I mean, whether you have a learning difference or a physical disability or anything like that, the Paul Menton Center is there to provide support for you. If you work with them, they can work with me and we can provide the appropriate accommodations for you so that your learning journey is a successful one, all right? Survivors of sexual violence. This one is very important, obviously. Carleton is committed to maintaining a positive learning, working, and living environment. We do not tolerate this here, right? And this is something that's in the news a lot. It's very disappointing when we hear news of sexual violence on university campuses. It's not just disappointing, it's infuriating. So we have no tolerance for this in this class, at this university, indeed anywhere. And survivors of sexual violence will be supported. So if, you know, God forbid anything happens, don't worry. It's not going to cause you to fail a class, right? There are workarounds, there are accommodations we can make. And this one that's added recently, which thank goodness, because I was doing this for a little bit and now it's actually official. If you have a student activity, if you're doing some extracurricular stuff, I can accommodate you, right? I know that this is probably not something we'll have to contend with, what with this Omicron COVID wave that we're going through. But maybe you got the big game, right? You're playing on the sports team. Maybe you got the chess club or whatever. You got to go do a thing. Okay, no problem. Go do the thing, and then just we'll work around it. We'll come up with another due date for you. So the test is due on Friday, but you got the chess tournament. It's okay. Go to the chess tournament and give me the thing on Monday, right? We'll come up with something. It's all good. All good. And just on the last page, this is where you'll find all your important dates. So any important date you need to know, you'll find it there. Addresses. See? Writing services. If you need help with writing, they're there. Academic advising, if you're not sure if philosophy is for you or anything like that, it's here. Registrar's office. This is very important when it comes to the end of term, because sometimes people get sick and they have to defer a final exam or something like that. All of that is done through the registrar's office. The library down here. Obviously, the library is not open right now, but you can still use the website, still have a lot of online resources to take advantage of. And of course, the Department of Philosophy itself. You'll want to talk to Rima, our admin, if you have any questions about the administrative side of things. You can talk to me about whatever's going on in this class. And I forget who the undergrad administrator is. Is it Dr. Frankel? I can't remember. Well, it doesn't matter. All of that information is on the philosophy page. And if you have any questions for any of those folks, you'll know where to find them. So that's all the important information I wanted to give you today. Let's close this. Yeah, that's about it for now. For next time, please read the introduction. It's not absolutely necessary. We won't be talking about the content of the introduction in any great detail because I've already sort of gone over the list of chapters, but it will serve you well to have read it, just as a sort of orientation for what Duzic is actually doing in this book. And then read chapter 1, if you please, which is all about the philosophy of science and technology. This chapter deals with what science is, right? What is it? Just what is it? Is it a method? Is it a collection of facts? Is it a type of reasoning? Right? What is it? Right? That's what this chapter is about. Before we talk about what technology is, we have to talk about what science is. So that's why we're going to be reading that one. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's not a super dense chapter. Yeah, I think it's going to be good. Another student or another question I'm getting here is, will you be lenient for students who have English as a second language? Yeah, I mean, I will probably go a little easier on you. But that said, I mean, you do have my feedback. There's also writing services. So there are things to help if you want to, if you're like not confident about your writing, then absolutely there are things that you can do to help. And I'll kind of, go a little easier while you're taking advantage of those things. But yeah, for something like a final essay, things should still be like pretty pristine because you've had the whole semester and all of that, right? So my PowerPoints, yeah, I try to have them uploaded before. Sometimes this doesn't work out, but mostly I have them uploaded before lecture starts. But not today. There is no PowerPoint for today. Today is just looking at the course outline. Well, it's almost time to wrap up, actually. I didn't think we'd be going this long, but I guess we did start late, thanks to technical difficulties. So I guess if anyone has any questions, any more questions, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll call it a day, and I will get this lecture uploaded to my YouTube channel. So let's see. I'll just stay here. Does anyone have any questions? The participant number is rapidly declining, which makes me think that nobody has any questions. So thank you, everybody. Thank you all. I'm looking forward to next class as well. I think it's going to be really cool. So yeah, I'll see you all then. Bye for now. Participants leaving. Excellent. So good to see everybody so excited. This is good. This is going to be fun. Thank you, everyone. Yep, I'll explain more. I'll be probably in the second week of class. I will kind of give a detailed, sort of overview on what I expect from the reading response. And I will try and find, I'll see if one of my students from one of my other classes wouldn't mind kind of like sharing one of theirs. Like I'll find a good one and share it as an example. But all I'll say for now is that it's really quite simple. What you need to do in 500 to 750 words is to just choose an idea and kind of talk about it, think about it, reflect on it, right? So yeah, if you're new to philosophy, that's okay. I understand the apprehension. Yeah, no problem. That's why, as I said, next week I'm going to provide more detail, and if I can, I'll provide an example, like a sort of example, right? Yeah, you can talk to me on Discord. Yeah. Email is better for things like assignments and stuff, because really officially everything should be going through email. But I find that with all the transition to online, that's been happening, Discord is really good. If you have a question and you just need to get a hold of me and get a quick answer, use Discord, right? But for more formal stuff, email is better. So anywho, okay, that is all for today. I think I will take my leave now and get this uploaded. And I'll see you all on Thursday. So have a good week. We'll see you then. For those of you who are still here, bye for now.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.